Well, I've had many, many mentors during my lifetime. Of course, my father, Bishop J.A. Blake Sr., was my primary mentor. He was a minister and a pastor and a bishop. And most of my early experience came from observing and watching and learning from my father. As a pastor, early in my ministry, I was exposed to Robert Schuller and learned a great deal from Robert Schuller in terms of church growth and church development and meeting people's needs in terms of ministry.
I would say Bishop Blake has been a mentor to me. In my lifetime, there is no other young minister, that came and followed the faith and inspired me in the whole process.
First year of my pastorate here in the city of Los Angeles, and I'd never seen a church, I'd never known anything about a church larger than 1,000 members. But I went to Robert Schuller's church. He had built the first walk-in, drive-in church, about 2,500 seats. He had built the 13 or 14-story Tower of Power. That was his administration and educational building. And sitting in a 400 or 500 seat chapel up on the 14th story of the Tower of Power, after being involved in a church growth conference sponsored by his church, I broke down and cried and said to God, God, if you can do what you've done through Robert Schuller, can't you at least do something through me? And that was the beginning of my pursuit of a dream that God implanted in my heart during those days that's still being fulfilled.
I founded the first Church Growth Institute here, and that's where Bishop Blake attended.
First institute was up in the chapel at the top of the tower. I read a little ad in the paper. About 100 ministers came, and I remember there was one young black man there, and at the end of the final 4 days, everybody was exiting, but he said, can I stay a while? And so we left him alone in that chapel. I never knew it happened until this week. He stood where I'm standing now 2 days ago, and he said, I was a young pastor, and the church had about 40 members. It was a bad set of affairs. And I listened to this Schuller saying, make a commitment. Think long, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. He said, I looked at this tower, and I looked at this church, and I looked at Schuller as he was talking, and I prayed, dear God, this is what you did through him. Can't you do something through me? And he said this past week up here, he said, I was alone in that chapel crying, all alone, saying, you did something through him. Can't you do something through me? His name is Charles Blake.